probably going to remember it when you hear it, but it's still one of my favorite tales. Once upon a time, there was a little boy, and for Christmas, there was a rabbit, a toy rabbit, sitting in his stocking. And it was brown and soft and bunchy, and had glassy brown soft eyes, and it had whiskers, and it was just an adorable little cuddly rabbit. And the boy down in the stocking, there were other toys like a little train and a little airplane that would fly. And so the boy looked at the rabbit. He thought that was okay, but he kind of threw it in the cupboard, and it was okay. It was just another toy rabbit. And toy rabbit kind of felt bad. He said, you know, why doesn't the little boy like me? And like he does you. And he was asking the skin horse. And the skin horse had been in the nursery for a long, long time. And he said, you know, it's kind of called nursery magic, and you have to be here a long time. And when you are really worn out and you've been snuggled so much that your fur is thin and you don't have any whiskers left and your tail is thin and you've had all your edges are rounded off and someone's loved you that much, then you become real. He says, does it hurt to become real? He goes, well, sometimes it does hurt to be real. But he said, once you're real, you'll always be real. So one night, the little boy didn't want to sleep with his little China dog, so he asked his nanny, he said, oh, bring me something soft from the toy cupboard. So she brings him the little rabbit. He decides he kind of likes that rabbit. The rabbit's really soft. And so the little rabbit starts sleeping with the boy every night. And before you know it, guess what? It's his favorite toy to sleep with. You know, got a blanket or a toy that you had when you were little. And there's really no rhyme or reason why you like it, but it's just something that brings back memories. So he kept sleeping with that little rabbit. He loved that little rabbit. And he even got where he'd take the rabbit outside. And they'd have picnics, and sometimes he'd leave the rabbit out overnight, and the rabbit would get kind of damp and kind of got dirty, but the boy just loved on him. Before you know it, he was not so bunchy, he was getting a little warm. His eyes were not quite so glassy, but the boy was loving him more and more. So one night, he left him outside again, and the nanny went outside and found him, came back and said, it's just an old toy. Why do you have to have this rabbit? He said, don't say it's a toy. He's real. You felt like toys are real. He's real. Then you talk to the toy. Well, that made the bunny really happy. The rabbit was so happy because he felt like he was finally real because the boy loved him like you're supposed to. So one day they were out playing, and he left the little rabbit out again. They was running around playing, and these other real rabbits came up. And they started kind of making fun of him because he didn't have legs. You know, he's just kind of a little bunchy. They said, you can't run, you can't play, you're not real. You're not real. He goes, I am too real. No, you're not. You're a fake rabbit. And he really kind of had mixed feelings because they were having so much fun, and they all had each other, and they were laughing. And he thought, you know, is that a better way to be real, to be like them than the way I'm real? I don't know. So the little boy took him back, and time went by, and finally the boy one day got really sick, seriously sick. Back in this time in the story went on, they had scarlet fever, and the little boy got scarlet fever, and they really didn't know if he was going to live or not. And the little rabbit would sleep with him every night, and he just clung to that little rabbit. He couldn't play anymore, he couldn't read stories or anything, but the rabbit just stayed there by his side. And he would whisper in his ear, and he just wanted to be there. By and by, the boy did finally get well, and the doctor wanted all of the bedding, all of the old toys burned to get rid of all the germs. So the nanny cleaned up everything and threw the rabbit into this bundle and took it out to the dumpster, out to the rubbish pile, to burn everything. And the rabbit just couldn't believe it, you know. He said, so I worked so hard to become real and to be loved, only to be discarded and burned. And he was just really brokenhearted. And he thought about the skin horse, and he thought about everything, and he started to cry. And when he cried, this nursery magic fairy came up. And she said, now it's time for me to take you to where you can really be real. And he goes, what are you talking about? And she said, I take all the toys after they've been discarded. Once they become real, you're always real. And so she took him to the land with all the real bunnies. And he got to become, and she gave him legs, and he became a real rabbit. And he had all of those rabbits to run and play with. And so he really did become real to the other rabbits. And one day the little boy was out in the yard and he looked over and he saw the little rabbit and he kept thinking, boy, that rabbit looks familiar. And it really made the little boy happy. So anyway, that's where the little rabbit became real, and he really did